Okay, we're going to review for your test tomorrow. You have your Chapter 3 math test. Now, I gave you a white sheet of paper in class today that said Chapter 3 test practice, so I'm going to work out those problems with you to make sure you understand how to solve those problems. The first problem says, Grandpa's stamping album has 48 pages. Each page, so we're going to draw a little page just so you know what that looks like. Each page has 5 rows with 4 stamps on each row. So 4 stamps, 4 stamps, 4 stamps, 4 stamps, and 4 stamps. How many stamps are in Grandpa's album? So if this is what each page looks like, this is one page, and we have 48 of these, we need to know how many total stamps are in his album. So first we're going to figure out how much are in each page. We have 5 rows with 4 stamps on each row, so 5 times 4, and that's 20. 20 stamps are on each page. Now we have 48 total pages, so we need to think, okay, 48 times 20, and that's going to give us our total number of stamps on all of those pages. Now, we've learned that we can cross out this 0 and bring it down, and then we're just going to multiply 2 times 8 and get 16 and carry your 1. 2 times 4 and get 8 plus 1 more is 9. So we have 960 stamps. Okay, that was your first problem. Second problem. A total of 47 students attended the bike rally. 47 students. They each rode 23 miles in the race, or in the rally. What is a reasonable estimate? Reasonable estimate. And this is super important. It says reasonable estimate. We should put, light bulbs should be going off in our head, and stars should be going off in our head saying, okay, reasonable estimate of the number of miles a student rode altogether. We know when it says reasonable estimate, the first thing we're going to do is round our numbers. So 47 rounds up to 50, and 23 rounds down to 20. Now all we have to do is multiply these two numbers. I can cross off 2 zeros, add them in over here, and now all I have to multiply is 5 times 2, and I get 10. So reasonable estimate would be 1,000 miles. All right, let's take a look at the next problem. This next problem is number 3. An old movie theater has seats on the main floor and balcony. So we have the main floor, and we have the balcony. Okay. The main floor has 36 rows with 29 seats in each row. All right, that's going to be a multiplication problem. The balcony has 8 rows with 23 seats in each row. Again, another multiplication problem, 23 times 8. We want to know how many more seats are on the main floor than on the balcony. All right, so I need to multiply and find the main floor. I need to multiply and find the balcony, and then I'm going to subtract. 9 times 6 is 54. Carry my 5. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 5 more. 32, 0, 12. 6 plus 1 more is 7. And then I add down. Okay, so there is my number of seats on my main floor. Now I need to do the same thing with balcony. 24, 16 plus 2 more is 18. Okay, now my final step is to subtract. So I have 1,044, and I need to subtract 184. I have to borrow. Becomes a 0, that becomes a 10, 9, 14. So I have 6 and 9. 960 more seats. Okay? I found my main floor, I found my balcony, and then I subtracted. My next problem says the art museum has 7 floors. Each floor has 4 rooms with 25 paintings in each room. What is the total number of paintings in the museum? All right, so I have 7 floors. 7 floors. Each floor, here's a little picture of my floor, has 4 rooms. Each room has 25 paintings. All right, that's 1 floor, and I have 7 of those. So how many paintings do I have on each floor? I'd be multiplying 4 times 25. And I know that 4 times 25 is 100. Now I need to multiply 100 times the number of floors that I have, which is 7, and I get 700. So 700 total paintings. That's my answer. Next problem. A tour boat makes 32 trips around the lake each day. The boat can hold 18 people, so I have 32 trips. And the boat can hold 18 people for each trip. What is a reasonable estimate? Okay, there's my reasonable estimate word again. Reasonable estimate. Of the number of people who can tour the lake on the boat each day. So again, I have to round first. So I'm going to round to 30 and 20, and then I'm going to multiply. So I have 2 zeros I'm going to cross out. Now 3 times 2 is 6. So my reasonable estimate would be 600 people. That's a reasonable estimate for this problem. Okay, the last question is tricky. Johnny took a trip for 16 days. 16 days. He averaged 12 miles of walking and 31 miles of biking each day. How many more miles of biking did he do than walking? All right, I have to think about this. Each day, if I'm just focusing on the walking, each day he walked 12 miles, and there were 16 days of his trip. That's going to figure out how many miles he walked. Then I need to focus on biking. So each day he biked 31 miles, and there were 16 days of his trip. Okay, so I'm going to multiply each of those parts. 6 times 2 is 12. Oh no. 7 plus 1, or 6 plus 1 more is 7. 2 and 1. Okay, then I multiply my other number. I get 6 and 18. All right, so he biked a total of 496 miles and walked a total of 192 miles. Now my problem's asking me how many more miles did he bike than walk. Okay, so I'm going to take my 496 and subtract my 192. I get 302 more miles. All right, now it's important when you're studying for this test, just do some problems. Write out some random multiplication problems and solve them, 2-digit by 2-digit. That'll help you get back into the flow of solving these problems after a break. When it says reasonable estimate, make sure you round first and then multiply. Okay? When it says, when it just gives you 2 numbers in your problem, you're most likely just going to multiply those 2 numbers. So make sure you're reading the questions carefully and figuring out what they want them to do. Again, if you can multiply a 2-digit number by a 2-digit number and you found this sheet of paper, this test practice easy, you're going to be awesome for your test. If you didn't find this test practice so easy, review similar problems to the test practice papers. That's how we'll study for our test. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.